Hi everyone. I know that there are a lot of people who have questions about patients that have gone to Dr. Renz's clinic. I am one of them, and while I would love to be able to post words and things, I have dyslexia, brain fog from Lyme, and autism, and I'm not good at summarizing things. So I decided that instead of trying to type everything and printing out something for everyone to read, that I would go ahead and make a video series on this. Today I'm just going to give you guys some background on my experiences with Lyme and how I ended up at the clinic, and then hopefully later I'll have some more videos about that actual experience. So for starters, my name is Jaden. I'm 23. I turn 24 next month, and I've had Lyme since 2015. However, 2015 was not my first experience with Lyme. My mother got bit when she was young at college, and we did not know until my brother Dalen was born when I was in around kindergarten. And shortly after that, my mom ended up bedridden on oxygen and had a wheelchair, a power wheelchair. So from the time I was really little, early kindergarten, I always said that I wanted to be a Lyme doctor. I didn't really know that there were nuances to what types of doctors there are. Turns out I want to be more of a clinical researcher, but it doesn't really matter. It gives you some perspective. When I was younger, I used to ask my dad if my mom would be alive in the morning. I had to put my mom's oxygen mask on her face. I watched her pass away in front of me. Luckily, she was revived, but it was very traumatic growing up with Lyme as a kid. So not only do I have experiences of having Lyme myself, I have also grown up being on, the family side. What is it like knowing someone who has Lyme? And let me tell you, you think you understand what it feels like to have Lyme and to have Lyme in your family until it happens to you. And then you realize that your perspective on it is actually quite different. I used to blame my mom for being sick, and I was entirely wrong for doing so. Yes, I was a kid who didn't really know any better, but I still feel bad for the way I treated my mom and how I blamed her growing up. So that's kind of my Lyme background before I got sick. So in 2015, summer of 2015, this is summer before junior year of high school, I went on a date, like most people do. I wanted to look really pretty, so I wore this dress, this like strapped dress without sleeves, and we went on the date to this place called Lake of the Woods, which is like a little forest preserve where I used to live. And I remember mentioning repeatedly that I didn't bring any bug spray with me. And I thought that might be a bad idea because one should wear bug spray to avoid getting Lyme disease. But I decided that there was no possible way that the botanical gardens section could give me that, so I was fine. About a week later, I'm working at Macy, which is the Boys and Girls Club, and I went underneath the table because one of the kids spilled paint and it had fallen under, so I went to grab the container. I come back out from under the table, and the kids go, "Oh, Miss Jaden, you're finally awake." What do you mean I'm finally awake? I just went under the table. Yeah, 3 hours ago. I look at the clock, and sure enough, 3 hours of time has passed, and I don't know what the heck I was doing under the table. And then I noticed that my arm was itching. And so I had a gut feeling, and I went to my friend and I said, "Hey, can you take a picture of the back of my arm?" And she took a picture of right here. And lo and behold, there was a lovely rash that looked an awful lot like the bullseye rash one gets with Lyme. Not everybody gets a bullseye rash, I understand that, but I did. And I said, well, crap. So I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, I'm sick. I need to go home. And clearly I'm not doing my job very well because I fell asleep under the table for 3 hours. Can I go home?" All of the kids are fine. So I decided to ride my bike home. And in the middle of my bike ride, I wake up running into a tree. I had quite literally fallen asleep while pedaling and woken up as I am toppling off of my bike because I've hit a tree. Tried to call my mom, but my mom wasn't doing well that day and was like stuck in kind of her coma sleep cycle, so couldn't contact her, couldn't get a hold of my dad, and I called all my friends that had cars and none of them answered. So I decided to take a short nap on the sidewalk for about 45 minutes, get back on my bike, ride home. I show my mom my bullseye, and I proceed to fall asleep for 18 hours. Wake up, eat some food, fall asleep for another 18 hours. This was Friday. By Monday, I was at the doctor's office taking doxycycline because my mom knew that that's what you do when somebody gets Lyme. You go and you get doxy as soon as possible. So I went on 2 cycles of doxycycline for 6 weeks at a time, and we thought I was good. I made it through senior year of high school okay after having a pretty rough summer before junior year. We thought I was going to be okay. 2017, I went to scout camp. I worked scout camp in West Virginia and was perfectly fine. And then college hits, and college was, kind of stressful when you're going. Luckily, I was at community college because I started having worse Lyme symptoms. All of the flu symptoms came back, along with a few more physical symptoms. I started slurring my speech. I started having immense amounts of brain fog and just fatigued all the time. And my family knew that when I'd gotten bit before, this was probably not going to be the end of our experience with Lyme. But my mom's had been dormant for quite a long time before she got sick, so we were kind of hoping that mine would stay away for a while, and it did not. Came back 2 years later. So we're in fall of 2017, and we're trying to find doctors. And, the United States medical system is amazing at that. So I went to the infectious disease doctor, and I walked into his office, and I sat down. And he didn't even look up from his table before he said the phrase, "Yeah, you don't have Lyme because you walked in here. You don't have anything wrong with you. Leave my office." So we kindly left his office because obviously if somebody doesn't care to look at me, I don't really care to see them as a doctor. So then we had to follow what the insurance wanted us to do, which was prove that I don't have anything else. So I went to the autoimmune doctor. Don't have an autoimmune disease. Don't have lupus. Don't have any of the other ones. Got tested for all of them. Nothing. Obviously. Then I went to sleep doctor. I decided to give me a sleep study. Turns out, don't have any sleep problems. 24-hour sleep study. No, 98th percentile on sleeping. So that's great. Not very helpful information because that's not what's wrong with me. So we're still declining throughout college and still don't have an answer. We knew the answer, but don't technically have one on paper yet. So trying to figure it out. And then someone decides that I must have a demyelinating nerve disorder. And so I get sent to the specialist in our hometown, and I get sent all the way to Barnes Hospital to prove that my nerves, when they throw a needle into my muscles and run electricity through them, that I still engage my muscles. Believe me, that is a very painful test if you don't have demyelinating nerves. They just basically electrically shock your muscles for like 5 minutes and move on to the next one. So after doing that, still proved don't have any of the autoimmune disorders that everyone thinks I have. So that was right before summer of 2018 when I'm supposed to go to scout camp. So I go to scout camp, futz through it. I'm doing better because I'm less depressed because I'm in the sun. I'm okay. Then I get a concussion in the middle of camp and I come home early. Go back to work in Boys and Girls Club back home, Macy. And my parents like, okay, you know what? The clinic is not assisting us in moving through this process fast enough. Mom's determined she's going to find me a Lyme doctor. So fall 2018, I think it was August, I go find a Lyme doctor, get the IGeneX test. Sure enough, I have Lyme, Bartonella, and Babesia. And that explains why I still have Lyme, because Babesia is a mycoplasma, and they don't respond at all to antibiotics. So I go on antibiotics to get rid of my Bartonella and Lyme. So go on antibiotics, and by winter of 2018, early spring 2019, I start losing my memory. And I start having more intense brain fog, and I start having migraines. And my speech problem gets significantly worse along with my Bell's palsy. I have this weird speech thing where I'll lose the ability to move the center of my tongue and therefore can't produce words. And I get migraines that cause seizures on one side or seizure-like symptoms on one side of my body. So that's continuing, and I just keep getting weirder. So we decide to start trying some drugs for my Babesia. Minimal results from that. But I continued through the semester, and that's when I realized that I truly had memory issues. I started weirdly fighting with people because I didn't believe what they were saying because they'd said something prior, or someone would tell me something else and it wasn't true, and I knew it wasn't true. And it turns out that that was severe memory loss. To this day, I cannot remember 4 years of my life. I can remember bits and pieces if someone tells me specific things, and I can know if they're true or not, but I don't actually have memories from that time. So towards the end of the semester, end of spring 2019, I accidentally forgot to take my medication one day. And at this point, I am taking 12,000 milligrams of antibiotics a day. And I felt amazing the one day I didn't take them. So I hid that I wasn't taking them for about 3 months. I took them sporadically in that time, but I didn't really take them. I came clean to my grandparents in the middle of summer and proceeded to continue taking my antibiotics again. So then fall of 2019 rolls around, and yes, I'm on track taking my meds again. And I get put on a medication for my babesia called rifampin. I did not know this at the time, but rifampin can cause seizure, like actual seizures, in many patients. So within 2 weeks of starting rifampin, I had been on and off my mom's walker for fatigue reasons previously, but 2 weeks on rifampin and I am having actual seizures, and am using a walker at school, purchased my own, can't complete classes. My professors are telling me to please withdraw from school because I am flunking. I refuse to believe them and take midterms, which tanked my GPA to 2 Ds and an F. And I finally went in crying to my professors and said, will you be mad at me if I drop out? And they said, no, you're insane for being here. Please go get healthy. So with their advice, their very kind advice, I medically withdrew from the semester and took some weird exercise class that way I could stay enrolled and wouldn't lose my scholarships. Please don't feel ashamed if you need to drop out of school because you're not healthy. I was, and I realize now that it was dumb. It's perfectly acceptable. So then, spring 2020 rolls around. Obviously, we all know that that was an entire thing, but as far as Lyme, I'm still continuing to take my medications and I'm doing okay on them. Still on walkers, still sleeping all the time, still having brain fog and migraines and whatever, but it wasn't much different than before. So, yeah, I make it all the way to spring of 2021, taking, I think it was 8,000 milligrams at that time for that entire year, and rifampin that's causing severe issues for me. And we get to spring of 2021, and I just decided that my blood tests were not coming back better or worse. They weren't moving at all. I was spending ridiculous amounts of money. At this point, I'd spent probably $85,000 out of pocket on medications. And I do not have money. That was from babysitting and taking extra scholarships from school and having loved ones and friends and family put in and working full time and working my butt off to pay for these medications that were doing nothing. So in spring of 2021, I decide I cannot afford to do this anymore and I'm done with treatment. I am going to give myself one more shot if a doctor seems to make sense and if I get sick progressively again. So I went back to summer camp in 2021, worked summer camp, felt better because I was a little depressed from 2020 and not being outside for like a year. I managed to do it. Came here to South Bend and started working Boys and Girls Club. It was great. 2021. Make it all the way to summer of 2022, and I start having immense conflict with people at work. And the little bird inside my head goes, yeah, that happened. Remember last time that happened? That was when you were losing your memory and you were getting sick again. And I said, well, crap. What am I going to do? So I moved jobs. And I sat there and prayed and cried because I realized that my symptoms were progressing at twice the speed as they were last time when I got sick and ended up bedridden in 2019. And I did not have time. I did not have time to find a doctor. So I prayed, and 15 minutes later, a Facebook post came up. It was Nadine posting about Dr. Renz. And I knew that that treatment protocol would work. I used to work at a lab that did something very, very similar for breast cancer. And he said, you know what? That's it. I have to try. I got a hold of my family members. I said, I don't care what we have to do. Right now, I clearly can't make money. I'm not going to be able to work. I'm only able to work 30 hours a week right now. And all I'm doing is going to work and coming home and crashing. I'm losing my memory again, and I'm going insane. I need help now. And I know this treatment will work. Please help me find a way to get this to work. I don't care if we need to take out a loan. I don't care. I need to get to the clinic. So that was June. We had that conversation. By August, I'd had an appointment with Dr. Renz in November. And my grandmother and I went to Dr. Renz in November, and I got treatment. By that point, I was having my migraines that were causing seizure-like symptoms again. I was having memory problems, immense amounts of brain fog. I felt like my brain was constantly on fire, and I just knew that I wouldn't be able to make it through life like that. And I went to the clinic, and I loved it there. All of the people know what they're doing. Doc spends a lot of time, actually treating the patient. Not just randomly prescribing some medication that he thinks makes sense, but actually looking at how you respond to the medications. And yes, treatment hurts, and I'm making a whole video on the actual experience of treatment at a later time. But I was at the clinic for 4 weeks. I did 19 treatments there because one day the IV was just not going in. And I came home, and we thought I was fine. And this is why I didn't want to post this video earlier. I'm not fine. Doc and I both assumed that my blood test would come back good, and it did not. I still have Lyme that is positive, so I'm going back in the next month to receive more treatment. That does not mean that I do not believe that Doc knows what he's doing. That means that there is no correct way to do treatment, and it's largely a guessing game. And unfortunately, this time we guessed wrong. So I am looking forward to going back to the clinic. I am doing better since I got back, but I have an active Lyme infection right now, and so I'm very fatigued and tired. But yeah, I hope that this video answers questions about my Lyme journey so far. And any further questions you guys have about my Lyme journey so far, go ahead and ask them down below, and I'll try to answer them in another video. But as far as I can say, Dr. Renz's clinic has improved my health significantly. Both, I was feeling better when I was there. I was thinking better. I'm able to do things that I haven't been able to do in years of my life. But no, I'm not done with treatment yet, so I can't answer questions like, what is it like to be done with treatment? Because I'm not done yet. But I look forward to seeing you guys' comments, and I will be posting a few more videos throughout the next few weeks about various things about the clinic. So if you have any questions that you'd like answered, go ahead and ask those. All right, bye.